This is our non-readers react to the show. Welcome back. We've seen episode 1. Now we are reviewing episode 2. We have with us Lady Catherine and G Mama. Oh yeah! There we go. There we go. You look just like us.
I was so glad you're both back, so I had to celebrate.
The resemblance.
Yes.
The resemblance is there.
It took a week. That was it.
Took a week.
Yeah. It's genetic.
Yeah.
I like how one eyebrow's kind of raised, so you have a little bit of a whimsy, a little question about you.
Well, they moved.
She has Brother Dan's eyebrows and Ryan's mustache, so that now you can see the family resemblance of the three siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And I am just very fortunate that I am not blood related.
Yeah, you married into this craziness.
Oh, I love you so.
Oh.
Can you imagine what her wax routine must be like, Grace?
There's not enough wax.
I don't want to go there.
Oh no! All right, glasses are on. Let's get into the episode. I want to start with.
I'm sorry. I have something first that I did not mention from the last episode, but I feel it's important.
Let's go.
Okay. When Perrin was talking about how he was betrayed by Patrick and how he would have him come over to his house and his wife would be so happy and waving to him and everything. And my mind started thinking that in the beginning we thought she was trying to kill him. And then now she was really good friends with Patrick. So I was like, that kind of looks suspicious. I don't know. It's just something I missed last week that I didn't say. Got to correct my eyebrows.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick, it stands for Pat and Fame. Yeah. That's a hot take. Okay, so let's take that a little further. So what do you think what are the implications? What are you implying, Catherine?
I'm implying that we were right, that she was, when he stabbed her, she was going down to stab him.
To kill him.
Yeah, and Patrick had said he'd been coming for like 20 years waiting for his time, and his time came, and if she was all smiles to him, and they were buddy-buddy, I'm thinking that she was buddy.
She was a dark friend.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Grace? G-Mom, what do you think?
It's a hot take. That's many episodes ago, but you know what? One thing that we've learned is that there are dark friends all around. There are dark friends all around because we saw when they were all around the table that there was a tinker and there was the guy from Faldara and there was somebody who had a black ring. Yeah, I mean, so they're all over the place. So it's quite possible. Can't say no.
Right there.
What's happening?
I don't know.
I was playing with my eyebrows.
Oh no. Put it back. Okay.
I'm so happy. Oh,
look at she's so surprised right now.
This mustache is staying way too good.
Yeah. It's attached to the other one. It's becoming one with your old.
Seriously, they're intertwining.
Like Velcro.
I love you guys.
Oh man, flip for real. Okay.
Wow. So, what was the name of this episode? Episode 2?
I think it was Friends and Strangers.
Okay. So we did meet quite a few new characters here.
Yes.
We met a character named Varen. Met a character named Adelaris?
Adelius or something like that. Yeah. We met them on the first episode, but we got to know them more this episode. But we did meet the dude, Leandrin's dying beau.
Son.
Son.
That was her son.
What?
Yes.
Well-
how did I miss?
Yes,
How did
let's-
Well,
that?
I mean, let's. You
She
guys
said
have to,
my boy.
to-
Oh, calling him my boy, I thought was really weird because if it was her lover, but he was so old.
Right.
Wow.
She
Well, what do you
just
think's
discussed
happening?
the fact that the power made sure that they didn't age. So my question was, is the power make sure
Holy
that
shit.
the warders don't age either? And is now Moraine going to be like 100 next week?
Oh, yeah.
Holy
Is her
crap.
protections gone?
Right. And does it apply to the warders too? Do they get to keep young and virile just like they do?
We do see that Lan kind of points out that he should have been able to sense the fades. Does that indicate that he has lost some of his warder power?
Well, to me, it was because their bond has been broken. So what he sensed was through her.
Oh, okay.
So to me, that was. I feel like everything that he senses is through her, through that bond, and since he's lost that bond, he has lost the ability to sense what he did before. That was my thinking.
And she's lost the touch of the power, so she can't either. So without the bond, even she couldn't know that they were coming.
She does not seem very cool to Lan this episode.
No, she's a bit of a quite
I was
bitchy
saying
too.
last time she's mean. Yeah, it appears as though she's just trying to push him away.
I agree. So she is being cruel, and it's funny because even on the last episode we talked about how cruel she was versus Leandrin, and I actually used the word cruel for what Leandrin was, but Maureen was being mean. She was much crueler in this episode, but in a different way. And I agree with Lady Catherine that it was all very intentional to push him away, to make it easier for him to go on without her, because that was her intent the whole time, is that she was going to leave him behind. So super mean.
After they were healed, they're both like getting up real slow, and they're ignoring each other. It was just like, dang, that's a bad breakup in the same room kind of thing.
Whoa, yeah, nice yeah, I like
Right.
that.
Now, can I ask a question? Who's the hooker? And is Selena's important?
The hooker.
Who's the hooker? Is that woman that Rand is with?
Yeah, because remember, she was overtime was a little expensive for him.
I actually felt like he was the hooker because he's paying off his room and board by sleeping with her.
Oh,
Didn't think of
that
that.
was her
She
place.
talked about room and board.
Sugar
and he was
mama.
like, okay, so
Now, is she the one we've seen in the clips that's snuggling up to him? Because obviously, then that doesn't make her Lord Voldemort, with the blood. And she looks like a fair, shorter version of Cher.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
she's very pretty. She's very clean for the town that they live in, because they live in a really seedy town, it seems like, and she is exceptionally clean. But I had the same question. I'm like, we don't know much about her at all,
No.
except that she seems to be maybe an innkeeper or something like that, because she's given him a place to stay, and then has some ex-lover that is no longer there that she's trying to forget. But so I'm assuming we're going to learn more about her as it comes through. But
Grace, are you suggesting that Selene wishes that she could turn back time?
Oh.
If she could
that's
find
exactly
a
what I was
way.
suggesting.
I thought she said something, and the way she worded it was weird to me. She said, people want to be alone when they actually basically need others. But the way she said the word people, it was like she's not people.
Oh,
It was like, are you something else? You alien or something? The outfit is
Well,
very
like an
low.
an orderly. I remember during that clip, we were like, "What's with all the blue? Why is he wearing this weird robe? Where are they?" But it's this asylum, it seems like, and so it's his little orderly robe that he's wearing. But it is a bit monk-like, especially with his shaved head.
Now, 2 guys I saw working there, and they both had shaved head. I didn't know if it was a lice issue or a job issue.
It could be, but the guy who he beat up did not have a shaved head.
He had a really close buzz.
He had really short hair, though.
Did he?
Yeah, really short hair. Not as short as Rand's,
Right.
but it was a buzz cut still.
So let's talk about Rand. He is working. It looks like this might be more for mental difficulties than physical difficulties.
Yeah.
It looks as horrible here than it would be in anywhere. London, 1800s. You know, people are still suffering, and people are still being mistreated by institutions.
It's funny. Well, hold on. It's funny that you say London 1800s, because in the town, so right when he went through the gate, right, he lives in this seedy town, and then he goes through the gate, and everyone's kind of, you know, posh, and there's women in these dresses with parasols walking down the street. So very London 1800s vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So
the architecture looked very Asian inspired with the tops of the towers or the turrets or whatever. They all appear to have that sort of roofing that they do in Asia,
and still under construction or being refurbished, which I feel is like every European city I've ever been to as well.
Yeah,
that you go and I don't know what was built, but there's scaffolding. There's scaffolding everywhere.
It's like, this building's very old. Watch the scaffolding. He ends up befriending a patient there who claims to be a sword master. Is describing certain sword forms. A jerk-off orderly, you know, triggers his PTSD for fun. Rand ends up beating this guy up pretty good. So where he's going to be out for a few months, it says. What do we think about this?
So he beat him up, and I think that he went. I think that was intentional, right?
He tracked him
to beat. Yeah, he tracked him to beat him up so that he could go and take care of the patient. I don't think, however, that he meant to use the power when he beat him up. So he went to go beat him up, and then through his anger, that came out, and he hurt him way more than he intended to, and was quite nervous. Right when he went with the back to Celine. That's when he was like,
he had rage sex.
Yeah, he did, and he grabbed her by the throat. I was not
choke kissing.
That was a bit trigger warning for me. I did not like that. But I don't think he intended to use the source when he beat him up. But I do think that because he was very pleased with himself when he saw Logain in there at the end. That hey, this is.
I'm sorry. I think he did it just because he hurt the other guy, and he had been protecting or watching over that guy for months. I did not think that was his ulterior motive, but I just thought that that's who he is, and he was protecting or watching over this guy for months. So when someone tries to hurt him, he hurts them back.
I thought that until I saw his face when he saw Logain, and he's like, "Yeah, the other dude can't be here. We have a lot in common. We're gonna be hanging out together." And he was very, very smug about it.
Now, how does Logain
knew who he was going out there to see? Right, there was no surprise at all who that patient outside was.
Fascinating. Yeah, cool.
Logain has supposedly got fresh air, can be in the sun and everything, but looks like he's been in the bottom of a cellar deteriorating and hasn't seen sun in 6 months. He looks like frail and sickly, and just like he's been, under a rock somewhere. He didn't look like he'd been in the sun.
Yeah, to your point, he does not look good. We don't know how he got here.
But they said the people outside had a benefactor or family that was flipping the bill. So someone's flipping the bill for him to be in the unsun sun.
The unsun sun.
Well, yeah, to be out there. But I think to the point is how damaged has he been from either not being cut off from the power. I mean, we talked about that kind of last time too. If you're either cut off or if you don't have it anymore, and they talked about that. They said people die. With Maureen being cut off, you have to be really strong to fight through it. So if he's had the power and now doesn't, it does a number to you. I think he's so through that. But one thing I noticed too is they are in this city that you just said, Carhain or whatever. So that was where the guy who gave the poem and the Heartstone to Moraine said he got that Heartstone from a town outside of Cairhien.
Okay. So, yeah, he's the boat guy.
And so then I was like, okay, so did Rand break that stone? right? It now is because he said he found it a few months ago, and Rand's been there presumably since he left the center. So maybe it was something that he did.
Yeah,
that's a great question.
That is a good question. Rand has gainful employment. He has a girlfriend. He has a place to stay. He has a routine, it appears. How long do you think he's been there?
I was assuming since that's where he ended up. So I mean, everyone else was saying it's been 5 months about. So almost that long. Because it just was starting to feel like, just like you said, like he's right in the town, right? He's walking through the town. Somebody throws a tortilla.
Yeah.
Across the
tortilla. Just nibbled it. Thanks, Joe.
Right. He knows people.
Catching tortilla.
The flying tortilla was really funny.
Yeah, the
he's
tortilla
giving
flats.
coins to little urchins.
Yeah. So clearly he's been there for a while. This is like his home.
Let's move on to Elaine, a character that we meet, friend of Egwene. She tells us she is the daughter heir to the kingdom of Andor. She is yet a novice. She's surprised that she gets to hang out with common novices. It's pretty cool, she thinks.
I like her.
You like her?
Good.
I like
Catherine's like, oh,
Catherine
sweet
doesn't. I like her because I feel like, I mean, she is a bit uppity, right? But seems genuine too. Seems a little bit out of touch, but wanting to make a friend, and has said, like, I don't have friends. I'm like in a tower. I don't have this kind of normal thing. So she was really excited to meet Egwene and be friends with her and what could happen. And she apparently is a brewmaster and makes some.
Yes.
So I found her likable, even, I mean, in her cluelessness of privilege. I found her likable when she was really kind of talking to people. But there was a clue, like the cluelessness of privilege with, it was funny when she went into Egwene's room. She's like, oh, it's filthy and you haven't moved in yet. And then she's like, well, so, and then that she's also been to the tower like every year for the last 6 years. So there's something that she's definitely privileged. But anyway, I liked her. But now I'm interested to hear Lady Catherine, because she clearly had a different take.
Lady Catherine was like, oh my God, I can't believe what.
I just don't trust anyone new anymore. I'm looking at her going, okay, you're a Ginge. Are you an assassin? Because it seems like all the Jinns are some assassin group. And
you mean red-haired people?
Yeah.
Okay, Ginge. Okay.
I thought you meant a genie.
No, the ginger, the red, strawberry blonde. There's some group. I know it starts with an A, so I just assumed assassin worked good for me. So
the Aiel, which is what we assume Rand is as well.
Well,
and even his ward or whatever talked to him about that too.
So what's the likelihood of her being that too? She's got the same color hair almost.
That's a good point.
Possible.
We do. There's an attack by the Shanshin.
Are those people with the things over their faces?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of a weird little. That was a weird scene to me.
Okay, so before we get there, they go inside the house, and as they're going in the house, Perrin sees the window that was closed, saw it closed. So then we go inside and he thinks the people are there and so forth. He's having like a vision. But during the vision, he turned and one of the guys that were with him was swinging his blade. And then he turned just like a few feet more and saw the gentleman with Bob Marley. So I did not know if the guy who was swinging the blade, who's on the hunt with one of the man buns, was there at the original slaughtering, or is this where he's mixing reality with vision? Because he didn't look like he was just standing there. He looked like he had moved his sword for some reason.
And I was trying to figure that out, and I didn't rewind it, but there was somebody that was kind of attacking the family, and I was trying to figure out who it was, because at first I thought it was that Ishmael, which I'm like, no, it's not him. And to your point, I didn't think it was that soldier guy, because he was wearing different things, but to your point, it could have been, because I couldn't figure out who it was. And then it went right to him, where then it was a little bit more like, oh, are we back at reality? So it was a bit confusing, because and that's exactly what the guy said, right? Your vision and reality, it's helpful to know which is which.
I didn't think it was him attacking, but I thought when he was standing there, the way he was moving his sword, he had maybe been there before, and that was the crossover. I don't know. That was just what I saw there. And when they walked over to go check out the farmhouse, and they asked Leo to watch the horses, and he said my favorite line of all time.
What do you say?
As you wish.
I didn't even catch that.
As you wish.
Oh, my dear sweet Wesley.
I didn't catch that. That's
I did. I was like, yeah. So it was just, and you know what? When he saw the blinds closing and they thought that there was a woman in there, his eyes were not yellow. So he saw a vision without his eyes yellow, I think.
The scene where, so they did that whole thing at the house, then they went into the village. He's getting visions, right? And he's getting all these wolf senses. However, he's sound asleep and wakes and has zero either smell or hearing of these people who are like walking right outside, and he opens his eyes and they're standing right in front of him, and he opens the door and there's this battle going on outside the door, and he heard none of it. So I'm like, I don't know what wolf senses you're getting, but you need to hone in on some of those.
But did you notice how they were fighting everyone else, but they were just dragging him? They weren't really fighting him.
I didn't. That was one of my questions. I'm like, why are they dragging him, and where are they dragging him to? And they were it seemed then when he went out, they were like dragging. There were some other men, like more townspeople men, that it seemed like they were dragging the men away, and the women were kind of left and screaming, but they were dragging the men away. So it was very curious to me. Couldn't quite figure out why that, and everyone else was already out there fighting too. So that was odd. Then like they what'd you call them, the Shan Chen, the people with their mouths and things covered. So they had some whatever power that just knocked the crap out of everyone. Seemed to make them like float for a little while. But when like Perrin got knocked out and came to, it was Lord knows how many hours later, because it was like dead of night, and then
daytime,
like middle of the day.
I did notice that when the Fade was hanging on the door and they saw him dead, and I don't believe the people that came into the village later that night would be responsible for that, because I think they're kind of on the same side. But I did think that would make an amazing Halloween decoration.
You know what? And you know what I noticed actually when the Fade was on the wall, it seemed like, so he had like, it was, and maybe it was his blood, but at first like how his arms were like on the wall, it was like this black, remember the black stuff that was coming out of Matt's mouth, and it was like it's like venom. It was that's what it was like with his arms there. But then it was also kind of coming out of his eyes. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's his blood.
Yeah, I think they popped his eyes
blood.
out.
Yeah, they don't have eyes. They don't have eyes.
Oh, well, where the eyes would be.
But there was another kind of big thing with Perrin, right? So when that whole convoy or like entourage comes, and that Ishmael was on the float and Perrin looked straight at him and he straight at Perrin. So again, whether it was his wolf sense kind of picking up again, that's the one to worry about. It was really interesting, right? There's this huge entourage and there's this woman with her face covered, and Perrin only had his eyes on Ishmael, right?
Yeah. You know what? I was surprised when they mentioned that he is not the head guy, that he is just one of the lieutenants. And if he's that strong as one of the lieutenants, who is the main guy and how strong is he going to be?
Yeah.
Or are we thinking that Rand is supposed to take over for the head guy? Is he supposed to be the new Dragon Reborn, be the dragon? I don't know.
Is the Dark One the dragon, and Rand the Dragon Reborn? Like the Dark One's evil. I don't know if the dragon is evil.
They said he was a head lieutenant, that it wasn't...
No, I know, but he's like a lieutenant to the Dark One, the evil, which is bad guy.
Yeah,
so I'm just saying, is the dragon a bad guy, or is the Dragon Reborn a bad guy, or supposedly, like, yeah. So if it's the Dragon Reborn, is the Dragon Reborn supposed to also be bad?
Well,
I thought the Dragon Reborn is actually supposed to save the world and like put everything back together. So I don't know.
Is the OG dragon completely out of it then?
I don't know who the OG
if
dragon
his
is.
lieutenant came back, I don't either. That's what I'm asking. If the original dragon from 3,000 years ago, was he locked in some manhole cover too? Is he still around, or are we just expecting the next one to come around? I this is what I'm asking.
Right. Yeah, no, and I don't know either. I don't know if the evil dark one is also the dragon, or if they're two different people. In my mind, I felt like the dragon was not evil, but the dark one is, so that they're separate people. But I've been wrong before. I could be wrong.
Okay, so you don't think the dragon and the dark one are the same one?
Correct.
Okay, so the dragon reborn, if he the dragon OG comes around, he will not be the dark one. There will be a separate one that would be the dark one.
Yeah,
is what you're thinking? Because we're just spitballing here,
right? Because I feel like we met somebody in last season, and some that was all in white. I'm gonna have to go back and remember.
So they were all in white.
Yeah, and was there a baby in it or something like that? Yeah, I feel like that was sort of like where the dragon, and now I can't remember though if it was the dragon or if it was the dark one, but I think it was like the dragon, and they were all in white, and I think we assumed it was kind of the White Tower, but it was like 3,000 years ago, and there were men in there,
right?
And yeah, like flying cars and stuff.
Remember? This is before the breaking of the world, when men and women were both ice Shantaes, and they worked together. And since they worked together, the world had become so bomb. Him and his woman, or equal, had a child, and he wanted to do something for the child, for the world, and then all hell break loose. But I don't know what happened. But I think that those are the people you're talking about, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, I don't know if that's a dark man, if that's the apprentice, if that's the dragon.
I know. Now I can't remember either. I feel like I need to go rewatch season 1.
I did, and I still don't know.
But back to your whole point of her saying we didn't defeat the dark one, we we released him, I think is what she said, right? And so that this dude is his lieutenant. She called him a Forsaken, and that there's a bunch of them that are going to start coming out. And she said he cut off my power with the flick of a wrist. So saying how extremely powerful he is. And that there's more of them, and that like you said, this isn't even, he's not the head dark one in charge. He's just one of the lieutenants, and is that powerful. But it was interesting.
8 size. 8.
What's that?
He had the power of 8, because took 8 of the Shanties to hold to do that. He had the power of 8 with this.
Yeah. But then it also answered our question that we kind of had before, that it was like her power was cut. He cut it. So she's got no access to it. Whereas we were talking about Nynaeve and Leandrin shielded it, right? So that was and she just like was blocking it for a little while Maureen's is
just cut.
Seems to be gone. I'm figuring she's going to get it back, and that poem has something to do with her getting it back.
So when she doesn't have any more,
get it back, right? Or Rand is going to help her get it back. So these are my questions about her. Is like, okay, how is she going to get her power back? Is Rand going to be kind of the solve for that? Is assuming that's where she's going. She's going to find Rand. So is he going to help her get her power back? And is that poem, what's the significance of that poem, and does that help? But she doesn't have the poem anymore because Lan stole it from her. So many questions.
I was interested in the way that the Red took over Mohawk's training.
Right?
Took her to the place where someone was being healed, and the girl who was being healed had an amazing white, and it had the rainbow on the sleeves. Oh, that was really cool. Me too. I like they're giving more wheel and more rainbow in this season. I see. But
and they referred to her as an accepted, right? So she's not a novice, she's an accepted, and that's part of the training is to spend time with each of the Ajas to, which I thought that was really interesting too. And so that the yellows are the healers, and that's what she was doing there. So I took notes like you did last time, Catherine. The other thing too, I don't know where it is. Oh, so they reference that she killed a novice, so she can't teach novices, but she is allowed to train accepted. So she somehow convinced the trainer of all the novices that to let her go through and be accepted, even though she hasn't used her power or can't control her power. She can only use it like when she's angry or mad, but somehow Leandrin convinced her that this is a good idea. And
I don't know if she
so I'm quite surprised by that.
They said she had a cobble of people to vote, so she took over the vote.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was if that. Yeah, they voted. They just didn't show the vote part because they referenced the results. It and then she left. Yeah.
What do you think of those tunnels? Do they remind you of the one that Moraine brought them through previously? Because it did to me. For the acceptance, you were talking about the acceptance.
Oh, the arches.
Yeah,
that she was going to go through.
Yeah, that's
I see. Yeah, maybe. And did you notice that there were 3 arches in there, but 2 of them were broken and only one of them was full?
Yeah, the I don't want to say the middle one, but yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah,
and I don't know if there's an order or anything like that, but I do think that they had to face something like that in the ways too. They had to face a fear or
something.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any parallels with that. I don't think she'll wind up in another city or anything, but yeah. Now, when Perrin gets attacked by Dracula and the Golden Binkies show up with their power, I have to tell you, the lady at the top of the temple, if I had that mask during COVID, I'd rock it every day.
Oh, well, you'd get COVID because it didn't cover her mouth.
It wasn't, that wasn't ADA approved.
Yeah, I would have put it down a little bit, but I would have been sporting that. That was gorge.
Yeah,
that was very cool.
Awesome.
I like it.
Hey, a couple other things on Leandrin that I just kind of noticed is that I think she's an awful woman. I don't like her much at all. But we saw a couple glimpses of kindness from her, right? She brought Matt some sweet cakes, which for no reason. So I'm like, okay, well, that was weird. And then she went, and I thought it was her lover, but apparently it's her son, like that she was like helping, and so there was really like a whole different side of her. She obviously then hauled off and slapped the woman who could actually help her with this kind of sick and dying person. But there were a couple glimpses of things that she did that were kind, which I still don't like her. I still think she's an awful woman. But
I was surprised that Mohawk could follow her to her son's house, but could lose her while she sees Matt, because she's following her like the whole time, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. And about Matt, I do like this Matt better now that she can see threads of the wheel. Are these threads that are stable threads, or are they intertwining and can change at all times?
Yeah,
because what she saw, is that something that is destined to happen?
That's what I kind of had the same question. Is it true visions, or are they symbolic visions, right? So seeing Matt stab Rand, is that maybe a moment in time and you can change it? Or I was more thinking, is that a symbolic thing that she's seeing of him stabbing his friend in the back, or what? Which it wasn't his back, it was his front. But is it more symbolism than the actual vision?
In that vision, it was with that special dagger, correct?
Yes, it looked like he had gone back to the shadow dagger.
I thought it was the dagger. Mm-hmm.
And
it seems odd to me that if that's like a true vision of exactly what happens, that happens, right? That he stabs Rand, and maybe the season will be shorter than we thought. But.
Yeah,
I don't think she's going to find much more time for the possum. I think her schedule is going to get real busy. Remember, she's like, "Oh, I'm free." So she saw that.
Yeah, that she decides she doesn't want to hang out with him anymore.
Yeah, no, I'll keep my alcohol to myself.
I don't want to share anymore.
Do we know what happened to Bob Marley when the when the
I
Binky
don't think
showed
we
up?
saw him. I don't think we saw him. Remember he said he wanted to sleep outside. He preferred to sleep outside.
Every little thing is going to be all right. Don't worry about a thing.
Unless, do you remember seeing him, Lady Catherine, after?
No, not at all. And if it had been that long, like over, night to day, he had to be around to see something. So,
well, he's the tracker, right? So he's the one that sort of is supposed to know, I don't know. He was tracking Pat and Fane, so Pat and Fane wasn't with this whole the group, whether he missed it or just decided to bolt on his own or is captured, who knows?
Unless he's looking for the person who killed the Fade or the people, because they're obviously on the other side then.
So I have a couple questions about Nynaeve. So they've talked about the fact that she doesn't know how to use or control the power, yet they're letting her become accepted, which seems super weird. Why are they okay with that? I had a kind of a thought. So she's a healer, right? So in the Two Rivers, she was the medicine woman. I can't remember what she was called, but right. So she's a healer.
Wisdom.
And when
she was a wisdom.
Oh yeah, wisdom. Thank you. Right. So she saw that little girl get healed, which she was amazed by. So I had the I don't know, realization or thought that she is a healer at heart. So the power, she has seen how destructive the power is, right? She's seen it kill a lot of people. I mean, she has killed a lot of people with it. So I think she's afraid of it because of that, because she wants to use the power to heal, not to kill. And she doesn't know how to do that yet.
Well, she just finally saw that that's eligible or possible.
Right.
For a disease called breakbone fever.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That sounds pretty bad.
Breakbone fever. Breakbone fever.
So with Rand back at the psych ward, what happens to his first patient? Is that just like a cameo? Or is he significant?
I think that a couple, I don't know if he'll come back, but there was a couple things that he said that were, and you were starting to mention it before, that were significant, as he referenced his Heron marked sword. So it made me think that, I mean, obviously we've seen the Heron marked sword and it was Rand's dad's, but then we're like, is it Rand's dad's? Is it Rand's mom's?
Right.
But now I'm wondering, is it like, do you earn a Heron marked sword blade through something? Through some, right? Is it not one? Maybe there's not only one. Maybe there's a group that all have these types of blades.
I think they're the ones who fight or were in the war. They were saying the I don't want to say the assassin war had been over for 20 years. I think he was part of that war.
Yeah.
Against, so just like and so is dad.
So was his dad. Right. So they were in the same war. So if they were soldiers or whatever fighting that, maybe all the soldiers had the same blade.
Yeah, I think so.
And that patient does refer to himself as a blade master, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And he does all those. That's how he got him to calm down, was by talking about all the sword forms.
Let me say, if and when we get to the point where we need an orderly, may us all have someone as empathetic and beautiful as Rand.
Oh, yes. The shoes, the walking, the stories, perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He handled it very well. Yeah. As he came in, and he was all concerned and yelling at him because he was Aiel, and just how he handled it. He was definitely had the right demeanor for it. Until he beat the shit out of some other guy to then get the ward that he wanted to.
Well, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, so we learned more about Varen and Adalius, because I wasn't sure before. We're like, are they in a retirement home? What are they doing? But she made it clear, right? She's Brown Aja, that they weren't going to go back to the tower until they finished a history book. But her sister, and she referred to as her sister, and I don't know if it's an actual blood sister or Aja, an Aes Sedai sister. I don't know that it matters. I wasn't sure if she was an Aes Sedai, though, because she wears very colorful clothes. She's writing this history book. Then we learned through the episode that she doesn't have a order and she hasn't been back to the White Tower. So it does It does seem like she is Aes Sedai, but she wasn't wearing brown at all. She was wearing like pink and green and super bright colors. I just found that a bit interesting too. And if she just doesn't care because she's not in the White Tower, she like doesn't have to wear her uniform, because she's not there. So, and she's a bit fun, right? She's the drinker. She wants to hear all the stories. She wants to hear the sex stories and how people met stories, and so kind of doesn't seem to have the same decorum that the other Aes Sedai have.
Yeah, she's like, move. Lan is shirtless over there. Can you please get out of my way?
Right, yeah.
And those pants are wool. Man, you can take those off.
Yeah, man, those pants look like they're chafing.
There is no undergarment. There's wool and Lan. And nothing in between.
Yeah.
Well, she now right in front of him is like, are you sure you don't need more healing?
Yeah, right. She did do that too. I'm like, oh, what kind of healing is she offering here?
Making me think of Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
Lots of questions in this one.
Yeah. I am interested to find out what happened to Bob Marley and where Maureen is going, because she's got these fates following her.
Right. She needs someone to help her.
Yeah.
All right, before we end this episode, we got to do our patented The Way the Leaf rating. Ladies, how many leaves out of 5 leaves do you give this episode?
3.5. 4 last time, 3.5 this time.
See, I liked this one better than the first episode.
Or the second? Or this is the second?
This is the second. I liked it better than the first episode, slightly. So I'm still with 4. It's not. It hasn't broken the 4 mark yet, but 4 leaves.
3.5 and a 4. All right. Well, that has been episode 2. Thank you, Lady Catherine. Thank you, G-Mama. We will be back to talk about episode 3 about the Amazon series. Let the ladies take over again and share about their experience with the episode. So if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment. We have a Patreon, we have a Discord, we have Instagram, I think.
All the things.
We got all the things. So join us in everything. And until next time, run for your lives, because this is the way of the leaf.